Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of Suzerain, where I've just noticed that the L1 the L1 high speed railway is halfway under construction, which is definitely more than it was on before, but something tells me we may still have some more issues before that's completed. Hopefully it will do well, and that will help our growth, our jobs, our popularity, we'll have to see. But we've got a lot to do with here in Narbel. We've kind of been spending a lot of time here in Narbel recently. First of all, let's just read a couple of the reports. We have a labour strike at Gassam. Blue-collar workers at Gassam in Narbel have initiated a labour strike. This industrial action follows disagreements over wages, working conditions and workers' rights. The strike has resulted in temporary disruption to Gassam's operations. The duration of the strike and the potential impact on Narbel's local economy are currently uncertain. Negotiations between Gassam management and the striking workers are reportedly ongoing. We might need to lend our hand to the strike negotiations, potentially. In Narbel, the Communist Party and Labour Union of Sordland have organised a strike against Gassam. Prominent figures Karatina Horton of LUS and Dennis Stahler of CPS have confirmed their participation. The impact of the strike on Gassam's operations and the wider political climate in Narbel remain to be seen. Okay, so we've got a meeting with Chiara and Pascal. I decided to take some much needed rest to recharge. Lucien and Peter were labouring tirelessly in the capital, uniting democratically leaning reformers for the crucial task of drafting a new constitution. Meanwhile, Gus Manger had invited me to visit the Gassam headquarters in Narbel, situated in Ornabel, a neighbourhood on the city's outskirts. Next to it was the Demoni Gas Reserve, a prominent natural gas resource consisting of 4 large fields. As our motorcade made its way through the Ornabel district, I noted the neighbourhood's state of disrepair. The roads were bumpy and marked by potholes, all the buildings surrounded us appeared run down and dilapidated. The community had apparently endured a prolonged period of neglect. We came to a halt at the entrance gates of the facility. A sizable mural depicting the Gassam logo had been painted on a nearby wall. Adjacent to the mural, a group of individuals wearing blue work vests had assembled, holding what looked like protest signs. Sergei skillfully parked the car, bringing our journey to a smooth and elegant conclusion. Gus greeted us warmly as we stepped out of the vehicle. Good day, President Rain. Welcome to Gassam's Narbel operations. I trust Minister Walder and Benewald didn't overwhelm you with their demands. Good to see you, Gus. I want to talk to you about what we can do to help the development here. It sincerely needs it. Perfect. That's exactly what I hope to accomplish during today's discussions. My job is to improve the conditions of places like these. Mr. President, I've been brainstorming a little something. The Gruni Ruin Investment Plan, it's area of Swordland. The rural investment plan. I reckon it's got the potential to breathe new life into our rural communities out in Gruni. We should consider a few things. For starters, we could give the farming business a boost with some subsidies, or we could steer towards modernising existing farms with machinery and tech. Or here's another thought. We could pour resources into developing crop breeds tailor-made for Gruni conditions. If it works out, we could roll these out across Swordland. Mr. President, I get the appeal of that green bill that's been making the rounds in the Assembly, but I'm telling you, if we put the brakes on that and funnel these funds into the Gruni plan instead, we can make some real strides without spooking any potential investors. It's a tough call, guys. I need to weigh the environmental implications and the economic benefits. That's all I'm asking for, Mr. President. Just give this plan a fair shake. Our talk was interrupted by a noise coming out from outside the building. We looked out the nearest window. A sleek helicopter was cutting through the sky, sunlight glinting off its polished surface as it descended towards us. It was our next appointment, Edward Alphonso. Alphonso sure knows how to make an entrance. The man does indeed love his theatrics. Before we meet him, I want to bring up one more piece of Assembly business. This workers' rights bill. Look, I'm all for giving hard-working folks what they deserve, but isn't it a bit hasty to push this while we're in a recession? The way I see it, short-term wins might end up costing us big time in the long run. You've got a point. We've got to play this smart. We're going to that economic blow. Gus, I get what you're saying, but isn't it time we put people before profits? Workers' rights aren't up for negotiation, regardless of the economic climate. Mr. President, I respect your stance, but let's not forget the potential fallout. There's got to be a way to improve workers' rights without rocking the economic boat. Please come this way. Ewald and I have something exciting news to share with you. I have faith that you won't leave us hanging. Not sure about that. I'm here because something needs to be done about Narbel's living standards. Of course, that's going to play a big role in our discussion. We do have to be delicate with Gasm, though. A corporation this big is like a house of cards. You make one wrong move, and the whole thing falls apart. Sometimes we must destroy rotten foundations to build something better. Isn't that paraphrasing Melaniev? Keep in mind we only have a single term to work with, and none of the average citizens here care anything about other than direct support. He pushed open a door. We walked down yet another hallway, seemingly in the direction we'd just come from. Like a maze, isn't it? That's Quinali architecture for you. The hallways were lined with doors. Glass panels in them revealed workers in suits and ties, many of foreign origin, busy in their pristine offices. A stark contrast to the blue-collar workers outside, working with machinery, transportation, and maintenance. The white-collar seemed to be having good in here while the majority are out there in the cold. The equipment provided is high standard. I've seen it myself. Besides, there will always be differences between workers. Ah, here's the elevator. It ought to be up there already. There's a separate entrance by the helipad. Just remember, Alphonso is our friend. We built the foundation for a great deal. Ewald, my friend. And here he is. Gussie, old devil. Takes on to no one. As I promised, I brought our guest of honour. President Rain. I hope you enjoy seeing our facilities here. The facilities seem to be much better shape than the cities around them. You should have seen Narble before Gasm arrived. The jobs it generated here have had a lasting positive effect. It's true, things here could be a lot worse. Please have a seat, let's talk. We sat down, some snacks and drinks were served, multiple Gasm yearly financial reports were scattered on the table between us. It's been a while, Mr. Rain. Let me catch you up on my activities since I left office. I ventured to Xena, immersed myself in its vibrant culture, then traversed the captivating landscapes of the Anrakan Peninsula, and have now finally returned with old acquaintances in Kiel. Along the way, I've had the privilege of encountering remarkable individuals who have made significant contributions to their respective fields. My experiences prompted deep reflection on the essence of life. I came out of it all with two words resonating in my head: reputation and legacy. These two pillars embody the lasting impact we leave behind and the way we are remembered by others. With a cup of coffee in his hand, he strolled over to the window, his gaze drawn to the expansive gas fields stretching before him. Towering mountains provided a majestic backdrop. I have a feeling he's going to want us to comment. Reputation and legacy are indeed powerful forces that shape our lives, but they can also be burdensome. He gazed out for a moment longer as he contemplated what I said, then turned back to us. I've been thinking about my own legacy and reputation, and I refuse to be remembered as a failed reformer. I put so many years of my life into this corporation, and then I left all of it behind, devoted myself to serving the people of Sordland. And so if you did, Sordland would be much off worse without you. Well, I'm not going to say I don't know. I can't help but empathise with individuals who invest utmost dedication and passion into their work, which I don't disagree with. That is much appreciated. I am well aware of the challenges you yourself have faced. I commend you for navigating these obstacles without causing harm to others. But I'm concerned about the future of what I have built up. The latest figures show that Gaston will have to either decrease staff and operations by 40% in 1 year, or take on a crushing amount of debt. That's why we've decided to reach out to foreign investors. Engaging with foreign investors can be a double-edged sword. I appreciate your perspective, but we need to adapt to the changing global landscape. Foreign investors will bring new opportunities and technologies that can enhance the efficiency and competitiveness of GASM. It's about finding the right balance and safeguarding our interests. I appreciate you coming through, Gus. Getting really interested in other investment is a major feat. We've got an amazing opportunity here. The demand for gas is steadily increasing from both international partners and the Swedish state. All we have to do is ensure a constant supply. The trouble is, right now, some of our fields are operating at half of our capacity due to resource limitations. We have significant potential for expansion, including 2 new fields that haven't even been tapped. With the right amount of investment, we can expand resource extraction, effectively fulfill rising demand, and ensure long-term stability and profitability. There is the aforementioned interest from Rizia, but the investment could also come from Sordland itself. You do know that Rizia can't invest more than 20% unless the government permits the transaction. which is precisely why we invited to be a part of this discussion. I remind you that I was never against the complete removal of the Energy Protection Act of 1932. In fact, I saw eye to eye with all about protecting our natural resources from foreign interests, but there is a balance in all things. The reality of Caucasian-style capitalism means that our national interests should absolutely be part of the discussion. Mr. Alphonso has neglected to mention that this is not an either/or proposition, Solon can invest alongside Rizia. We do not have a lot of budget to work with. Investing together with Rizia could be better than just letting them purchase as much as they need. Potentially. Co-investing would reduce Solon's contribution while allowing the nation to have a strait for strategic purposes. If the Treasury situation is concerned, this path could be most optimal. The sound of sirens briefly distracted us. Through the window, we saw police cars driving down the street adjacent to the Gassam zone. We redirected our attention to the meeting. Mr. Rain, the foundation for a robust partnership is right here. It's high time we shift our focus towards sealing this deal. If we raise a minority investment, it would allow us to invest in further resource excavations in the gas fields and turn the company back to significant profitability. By significant, I mean that our projections showed that Gassam would be able to cover 80% of Solon's gas needs in 3 years, and we would achieve profits 4 times the value of our investment. If we are to invest in Gassam, I want to make sure that the company is also committed to improving the socio-economic conditions in Narble. I wholeheartedly agree the well-being of Narble's citizens is a priority for Gassam. With this investment, we could certainly allocate more funds to improve the local infrastructure and create more jobs. Mr. President, I've been thinking, what if we tie Gassam's growth to Narble's development? Get the company to invest in the community, that way everyone wins. Mr. President, your administration's focus on a planned economy resonates with our strategic vision for Gassam. A government investment in our company aligns perfectly with this approach. It's about strengthening Solon's economy and becoming self-sufficient in energy production. I'm heavily interested in the idea of Gassam investing in Narble's development, but we need concrete actions, not just words. You're right to demand specifics. With this investment, we aim to improve the living conditions in Narble by creating more jobs, providing better housing for our workers, and initiating educational programs. Gassam is as committed to Narble as it is to Swordland. It's about time Narble got a leg up. The plans sound solid to me. More jobs, better living conditions, that's a step in the right direction. If the Swordish government chooses to invest, it would gain a voice in the broader company decisions, even as a minority stakeholder. The government could either reliquidate its shares at a future date or continue to reap the long-term profits. A beneficial arrangement for all parties. After a moment, he turned back to face us. His gaze was steady, the expression clear in his eyes. The time had come to make a decision. Well, Mr. President, will Gassam and Solon make history or not? Ooh. I certainly don't want to invest too. I don't think we can afford that. I don't mind co-investing with Rizia. I just feel like Gus might be a little bit too close to Alphonso, and this might all go wrong. We do not have a lot of government budget to work with, but we will co-invest. We'll share the costs and stakes. A joint investment? A wise choice. It ensures steady funds for Gassam. I like the way you think, Mr. President. Sharing the costs with Rizia reduces our risk and strengthens our ties. It's a smart move. Before we dive into the celebrations, I've allocated time during this meeting for President Rain to discuss my concerns regarding Gassam's treatment of its workers and its effect on Narble. The Labour Union, along with the Communist Party, has rallied substantial support from Gassam workers in Narble, advocating for improved local conditions. Our duty is to listen and take action. That's the mandate granted to us by the public. While sometimes people may not always recognise what's in their best interest, do you have a proposal in mind, Mr. President? So I can increase the better housing, healthcare, education. Blue workers need to have their pay increased. Get them to contribute significantly to local charities, stay the city's recovery. No, let's go for housing, education, healthcare. A good point. I can see the potential for Gassam to play a large role in supporting our workers in the community. I'll personally oversee initiatives to provide private housing, health and education support for our blue-collar workers. These are significant steps. I look forward to seeing their changes implemented swiftly. Well, your personal commitment to these initiatives speaks volumes. This could be a turning point for Gassam and for Narble. Indeed, Mr. President, we are committed to... Suddenly, the meeting was interrupted. The quiet murmur of conversation from outside the room grew louder, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. A member of the private security team entered the room, his face taut with urgency. He approached Alphonso and leaned in to whisper something in his ear. Iwan nodded solemnly, his gaze meeting with serious intensity. Gentlemen, it seems we have an unexpected situation outside. Some protesters from the Labour Union have blocked the main vehicular exits. Katerina Horton and Dennis seem to be leading the group. It would be difficult to leave the way we came without causing trouble. Well, that's a pickle. What's our move? I have a helicopter ready. We can leave undetected and avoid the chaos and potential danger. Is there no other way out? Trust me, I know this place well. The only other way out is through a dangerous hilly terrain or the sewers. Mr. President, I advise you to leave via helicopter just in case. I can stay back and update the crowd on the discussions today. Sergei rushed in. Mr. President, I've discussed this situation with the Presidential Guard and the police security. They are advising us not to go out the way we came in. More police are on the way. You must make a decision. Oh boy. So, we've lost another government budget. Goodness me. But we're going to leave the facility. I feel like if we leave in a helicopter, that's not going to go very well for us. I would like to show myself as a man of the people and leave the proper way. A volatile situation has emerged outside the Gassam facility, with a sizable crowd of protesters amassing. Their grievances, fueled by underlying tensions, present a complex scenario for us to navigate. The decisions on our course of action could dramatically influence the outcome of this situation. I'm not flying away in Alphonso's helicopter, because I feel like if someone kind of puts an RPG into our helicopter, then that's us dead. So we're going to address the protesters. Whether that's the right decision, who knows? As we stepped out to the towering front gate of the Gassam facility, I immediately became aware of how tense the situation was. Gus Major stood to my right, his silhouette barely distinguishable from the monolithic air behind us. Sergei stood to my left, his eyes scanning the crowd with the precision of a hawk. The Gassam security had drawn their weapons in anticipation, forming a bristling wall around the perimeter. My Presidential Guard, in stark contrast, stood tall and unflinching at the entrance, shielding us from the sea of angry workers surrounding us. The shouts of the crowd were deafening, the hostility palpable. Starler and Horton stood at the forefront with fire in their eyes. Interesting. With a deep breath, I prepared to address them. Gus extended a microphone to me. How do we begin this, then? To the hard-working employees of Gassam, we stand with you today. Our shared goal is simple: to demand improved living and working conditions for everyone. We're not blind to your struggles. We seek to acknowledge them, address them, and above all, improve them. It's important we get this speech right, other things could go very badly wrong. Speeches are more speeches than President Rain. What exactly was decided today? We know more than pretty words, we need substance. She's right, Mr. President. We need details. What's going to change for the workers? Now hold on a minute. President Rain is committed to bringing about real change. His actions and decisions clearly demonstrate this, even if he doesn't fit your narrative. Is that so, Major? All we see are decisions that favour the likes of you and Alphonso, not the common workers. It's not about narratives, Mr. Major. It's about ensuring a fair, dignified life for the working class, something your policies have constantly failed to do. What do we do here? It's a process and we're on the right track. Words and more words, President Rain. What the workers need are action, not promises. Exactly, Dennis. The working class, the soil land is still waiting for these actions. And what about the recent campaign finance bill, Mr. President? It's a direct attack on our democracy, effectively silencing smaller parties like ours. Your neglect of the nation's healthcare system will harm millions. Mr. President, we demand that you support the upcoming workers' rights bill. The Labour force and Suzerain will be watching your next move closely. Furthermore, we want reform. Reduce the election threshold and change the constitution to make a more democratic and fairer nation. How dare you speak that way to your president? You ingrates have no idea how much you sacrifice this country. Oh, I understand the concern and frustrations of many that you have. Rest assured, we are here, we're listening, and we're committed to addressing these issues. Despite the sharp words exchanged, the crowd remained eerily calm. It seemed like they were waiting, their collective breath held in anticipation of something more. Suddenly, a reporter pushed through the crowd, brandishing a microphone towards me. The locals of Narbor have suffered under the impact of Gassam for years. What concrete steps is Gassam going to take for the benefits of the local community? As a result of our negotiations, Gassam has committed to improving the living conditions for its workers. This includes providing private housing, ensuring access to healthcare and education. Let's try that one. I know it's hard to believe, but today was a victory. Let's try that. A change came over the crowd. The angry shouts were replaced with cries of disbelief, then joy. Eventually, all fell silent as they waited for Dennis and Katerina to respond. If these promises materialise, it can mean a significant improvement in the lives of our comrades here at Gassam. This is a start, albeit late. Let's hope it's not mere lip service. Private housing, healthcare and education, that's indeed a shift from the status quo, Mr. President. While I commend this commitment to improve the lives of our Gassam workers, we only hope this is not just another political gambit. A group of figures emerged from the crowd, adorned in the unmistakable scarlet attire. The Red Youth had arrived. I realised this was no longer a mere protest, it was a symbol of a broader, more potent struggle. The police began reorganising their ranks, adopting defensive postures. Could you shed some light on the possible deal between the Swedish government and Gassam? What role does the Kingdom of Rizia play in this arrangement? It's a show of international cooperation. Sorland and Rizia will jointly invest in Gassam. Oh boy. A partnership with Rizia. You're aware of the monarchy's history of stamping out discriminants with brute force. We'll be watching this co-investment closely. Your government will be responsible for keeping its partner's worst tendency in checks. Nearby, a Gassam security officer and a presidential guard were conversing in hushed tones. I saw them glance over the crowd, now calmer but still restless. President Rain, while the crowd appears somewhat subdued, I advise we exercise caution. Maybe best to conclude your address and proceed to the vehicle. Are you sure won't running away from this only made the protesters angrier? I remain here, Mr. President. The crowd seems calmer now, and I believe I can answer their queries and maintain the peace. You should go ahead. Mr. President, thank you for your willingness to address us. Let's continue these important conversations moving forward. You've shown courage today. We'll see if your actions match your words. Until next time. We have shown courage together. Now we hold you accountable to your promises. The trouble of the labourers are not over, and now is the work of our union. Thanks to both of you. Oh, that might be the wrong one to do. A flutter of whispers rippled through the sea on lookers, their eyes darting back and forth between us in surprise. A few broke into scattered applause. The initially hesitant clapping grew louder, and jubilant cheers and whistles filled the air. I saw the Red Youth members standing at the edge of the crowd with their arms folded, a hint of approval in their eyes. As I readied myself to leave, I turned back to Katerina and Dennis a last time. My job is to listen and act. As for accountability, isn't that what all governments should be held to? You have my word. I look forward to our continuing conversations. The reporter jumped in. Can you clarify the current status of your personal relationship with... No more questions, please. Mr. President, if you could proceed to the vehicle. Sergei opened the door of the car and I lowered myself into the seat. The door closed behind me with a thud, sealing off the external noise. The crowd began to disperse, the individuals breaking away to let our convoy through. The guards took their position nonetheless, forming a human barrier around the vehicle. The engine purred to life and began to move. I'm glad we're safely on our way, Mr. President. Thank you, Sergei. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'm only doing my job, Mr. President. Ensuring your safety is my top priority. The echoing voices of the protesters gradually subsided as we retreated from the scene and left an arbor behind. I think just about managed to keep that positive. I would say we actually won over some people there. And I think if we'd left by private helicopter, we would have been seen as a coward by everyone. So I'd say that's pretty good. Okay. L1 report from the SSC. The SSC's project manager for the L1 railway has reported the project has been progressing well. They've already started laying down the foundations of the ground retaining walls, bridges and tracks. Project supervisors from the government confirmed the project, saying that most of the preliminary work has already been done by the SSC. However, the government officials added that there was a couple of delays related to the transportation of construction materials, which were not included in the SSC's report. And the proposed repeal of the EPA of 1932 was put to vote in the Assembly today, resulting in its defeat. Despite strong advocacy from the reformers factions of the PFJP and beyond including the USP under Albin Clavin, the majority of the Assembly voted against the repeal, 179 to 71. Consequently, the EPA of 1932 remains in force, maintaining the status quo of foreign ownership, restrictions of energy companies in Swordsland. This result concludes the current attempt to modify the foreign ownership regulations, but does not preclude further legislative efforts or any initiative by the executive, i.e. us. Kasaro Kabena, leader of the NFP, has announced today that the NFP is completely against any threshold reform. He specifically emphasised that this would lead to unwanted elements entering the Assembly. He is outright against any changes to the 10% threshold. Franz Richter, leader of the PFJP, recently outlined the demands of the reform package. He declared that without the implementation of term limits and limited decrees, it would be very difficult for him and his party to stand behind the reform package. And the USP, many members of the USP, led by Albin Clavin and the reformist wing, clarified their demands for the government in the party congress. For the upcoming constitutional reform, Albin Clavin stated that without ministry reforms, they won't be able to stand behind the new reform package. Oh boy. Okay. The Workers' Rights Act of 1954, proposed by Albin Clavin and supported by the Ministry of Health, is being prepared for the first draft reviews. Voices from the Labour unions showed strong signs of support. A session dedicated to the bill in the Assembly proved contentious. And my chair keeps on breaking by the second. The people that form the backbone of the Swedish economy will find to be protected by extensive laws. Katarina Horton said, receiving both cheers and boos. An investigation on the influence of the Young Swords and Reds youth organisation on the post-assassination unrest has concluded. Both organisations haven't officially organised or called for illegal actions, but several low to mid-level leaders have both links to insightful actions that led to deaths, injuries and instability. This allows us to ban the organisations. I'm not going to ban, I think that's a bad idea. See if we just bring these people to... I think we just have to bring these people to justice, but not ban the youth groups, otherwise we're going to be in some serious trouble, I would say. Okay, so the Gruni Regeneration Ecological Economic Nurturing. The Green has been proposed by the Assembly, aiming to encourage a more sustainable approach to industry in Gruni. Or Grunei, I should say. Section 1 of this Act would improve structural regulations on the industrial pollution and waste disposal, particularly in those in the Gruni region. Businesses not complying with these new standards may receive hefty fines, the revenue from which could be invested back into environmental recovery projects. Section 2 proposes to offer tax breaks to businesses that can demonstrate a significant reduction in their environmental impact over a period of time. A small investment fund is created for eco-friendly business practices. This is another government budget which we're going to have to use. I'm going to sign it. I may regret it. We have no government budget left. But we've got to spend money to make money, I would say. I was walking to my office since today was the day to edit and make the final changes to the proposal to change the Constitution of Swordsland. The Reform Committee finally brought tangible results and the draft of the changes were about to be presented to me. I walked in the marble corridors of the palace thinking about the huge decisions I was going to take. At the entrance of my office, my secretary Livia greeted me. "Good morning, Mr. President." "Good morning, Livia. How are you today, sir?" I thought that's a bit flirty. I'm perfectly fine, thank you. Good to hear. She paused before taking my coat. It looked like she had something on her mind. Mr. Rain, can you give me a hint about your reform plans? If you ask me, taking away the judge's immunity is long overdue, but it might anger a lot of people in the halls. You'll find out with the rest of Sworland, sweetheart. No, let's not say that. I'll take that into consideration. I hope you'll keep me informed. I'll take your coat now. Lever left to hang up my coat, and I entered my office and sat down. Not long after, Peter, Lucian, and Nia arrived. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. Time to finally get this proposal going. Peter placed the draft in front of me. After modifications, we will be starting the protest. Let's start. After placing the committee's report and my own notes in front of me, I bury myself in the papers. Ooh, this is going to be big. So, according to Articles 77 and 82, the President may veto a bill by returning to the Assembly with a written statement. The articles do not contain any information on how to override a veto. As a consequence, the President has an absolute veto power that cannot be overridden with a supermajority with the Grand Assembly of Sworland. Limit vetoes? I think we'll do that. According to Article 5 of the Constitution, an amendment that has the support of at least 150 signatures may be proposed to the Grand National Assembly. A two-thirds majority vote in the Grand National Assembly and a simple majority vote in the Supreme Court is required for the amendment. As a consequence, the Supreme Court, which is not part of the elected legislative branch, has voting rights that give them enormous power in the amendment process, and we will be removing the Supreme Court's voting rights. According to Article 17, the President of Sworland is not responsible for the actions performed in the exercise of presidential duties, except in the case of high treason or violation of the Constitution. In such cases, the President may be impeached by the Supreme Court in joint session with an absolute majority of its members. Therefore, the impeachment process only includes the Supreme Court and gives them great power over the executive. Let's change that to the Assembly and the Supreme Court. According to the Constitution, the President appoints the ministers to the Council of Ministers from elected members of the Assembly. We may introduce a confidence vote by adding the line, the President may nominate ministers, which will require a confidence vote for the Grand National Assembly for their appointment. Include the Assembly more in the process, with the Grand National Assembly may nominate a list of ministers, which the President may approve. We'll go with the Assembly nominating the ministers. It gives hopefully more support to our constitutional changes. According to Article 50, a political party needs a minimum of 10% of the national vote to win seats in the Grand National Assembly. The votes of the parties who pass the threshold are redistributed proportionally, meaning USP, which currently holds the lead, would be the main beneficiary. Decreasing the threshold may allow the Workers' Party of Blue Deer and the Communist Party of Sworland to be elected in the next elections. If we decrease it too much, we might lose, but I'll decrease it to 8% to try and help. Because again, I need the support of the smaller parties, I would say. According to Article 18 and 51, the President is able to issue decrees on political, social and economic issues that would carry the force of law. They could not contradict the Constitution and are subject to judicial review. Therefore, the President may issue decrees on many subjects without going through the Grand National Assembly. However, the Assembly may pass legislation on the same subjects to override presidential decrees. We may include the Assembly in the process by requiring an enabling act from the Assembly to be able to enact decrees or remove them completely, making the Assembly the sole lawmaking authority. This one's a bit tougher. I could not change anything. I don't want to remove presidential decrees. Let's do an enabling act. According to the Constitution, the President shall be elected to serve for 4 years. However, there's no mention of a term limit, allowing one individual to be able to run, be elected and serve as President without limits. I'm not going to change that, I don't think, because if we manage to do well, then I'd like to carry on and really change Sworland around, but that may not happen. The Constitution gives the justices of the Supreme Court absolute immunity before the law and describes no procedure of impeachment, making them untouchable by the other branches of government. We would describe an impeachment procedure by giving the Grand National Assembly the right to propose an impeachment of a justice on the legal grounds of unconstitutional behaviour. Yes, there needs to be a kind of balancing act in the Constitution. Okay, Article 99 of the Constitution defines the Member of Honour title and the rights of the members they may exercise. A Member of the Honour has absolute immunity. It's considered to be a permanent member of the GNA. They are given control of their own personal security, provided by the state's presidential guards. A member is also eligible to live in a private residence, provided by the state for free. Abolish the Member of Honour. Every president becomes a Member of Honour after their service, or remove the immunity. Remove the immunity. No one should have absolute immunity, not even the president. After I made the final changes to their proposal, I showed it to my team. There were other changes and discussed it amongst themselves. Lucian spoke afterwards. Looks like the amendments are ready to be proposed, but I have to say this too. The new electoral threshold will be really difficult for the party to accept. Our guys are not fond of that idea. That's true. It will be tough to get some of them to support this. Some of our members may try to openly fight against this. We will figure it out. We will do our best to make it work, sir. Any other comments before we proceed? I will say that I do not agree with the new law that gives the Assembly the power to impeach the judges of the Supreme Court. I am also against the Chief Justice and his obstructionist behaviour, but even if we get rid of them all, the new judges will be less independent with this law. They'll be scared to go against the administration when it's needed. They need their protection to do their job, otherwise the new ones will be pawns just like Sol's old guard. But it's more important that we get rid of the old guards, Miss Morgan. After the obstacle's gone, we can strive to make it better. However, you have to be careful, Anton. I'm sure you'll be fine, but with all that's happening out there, we need to prepare against those threats one way or another. I'm aware. Well, I think we can proceed now. I'll personally work on the wording of this proposal with my hand-picked legal experts. With Mrs. Morgan's reputation as the most experienced attorney, this proposal will be bulletproof. Chief Justice also will have a hard time convincing others to oppose it. In the meantime, you must introduce this proposal to our party. You need them to back us if we wanted to pass the Assembly. Sir, I advise you to first talk to the leaders of both Conservative and Reformist wings of the party. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Clavering supports the Reformers already. Mrs. Tory will be the real problem. She became the real heavyweight after we left with the executive. Any advice in regards to dealing with them? As Mr. Vecton said, Mr. Clavering will probably be easier to persuade. We need to unite the party under this, so his support is vital. Mrs. Glory will be tougher to break. The problem is that she's capable of turning the moderates and the Conservatives against us. As much as I don't want to say this, if she makes demands to change the proposal, you may need to give in. Thank you for the advice. Wish you good luck with the party, sir. I think we can amend the meeting here. We all shook hands and left the room. Goodness me. Ooh, let's hope that works. I only decreased it to 8%, so hopefully that'll be okay. So there's a few things to do here in Lockhaven. Read the reports into recession and dinners. Here in Wholesword, we've got a few more reports to read. But I think we'll leave it there. We did a good thing trying to win the hearts and the minds of the workers over at Narble, but we've got a lot of work to do yet. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.